These are 10 facts about Sir Duncan the Tall you need to know, and you must not miss the last one. Number 1. Duncan the Tall grew up in Flea Bottom, the poorest and most dangerous slum in King's Landing. He was an orphan who knew nothing of his parents, surviving among thieves and beggars with street urchins. They were little monsters, as Dunk recalled, and he was the worst of them, selling or dumping questionable meat to the pot shops that made the infamous bowls of brown. Around 198 AC, everything changed when Ser Arlen of Pennytree found 5-year-old Dunk chasing a pig through the filthy streets and decided to take him on as a squire. It was random, absurd, and completely without ceremony. Just an old hedge knight seeing something in a starving boy covered in mud. That moment mattered because Dunk never forgot where he came from. His empathy for small folk, his distrust of highborn cruelty, and his willingness to defend the defenseless all stemmed from those years in Flea Bottom. The pig chase put a future Lord Commander on his path. Number 2. Dunk wasn't actually a knight when he started calling himself one. In 209 AC, after Ser Arlen of Pennytree died on the road to Ashford, Dunk buried his master and made a choice that would haunt him for the rest of his life. He took Arlen's armor, rode to the tourney, and told Lord Ashford's steward that Arlen had knighted him before his death. Yet this act of deception became something profound. Dunk lived by every vow he falsely swore, protecting the weak when Prince Aegon attacked a puppeteer, standing trial rather than fleeing, and eventually becoming Lord Commander of the Kingsguard. In a realm where knights raped and pillaged under the protection of their anointed status, the man who stole his knighthood became the truest example of what a knight should be. The ceremony didn't make Dunk a knight, his choices did. Number 3.
Dunk's partnership with Aegon reshaped the political future of Westeros in ways neither could have imagined in 209 AC.
The bald boy who begged to squire for Dunk at an inn near Ashford wasn't just another orphan from Flea Bottom. He was Prince Aegon Targaryen, 4th son of Prince Maester. For years, they traveled the realm together, with Dunk teaching Aegon humility, hard work, and what life was truly like for the people their family ruled. That education mattered. When Aegon ascended the Iron Throne as Aegon V in 233 AC, he became known as Aegon the Unlikely and implemented radical reforms aimed at protecting small folk and limiting the power of lords, policies that directly reflected his time with Dunk. The king even named his eldest son and heir Duncan, presumably after the hedge knight who raised him. Number 4. The Trial of 7 at Ashford Meadow in 209 AC nearly ended Dunk's story before it truly began. When Prince Aerion Brightflame, the same sadistic Targaryen who would later drink wildfire believing it would transform him into a dragon, brutally attacked the puppeteer Tansel for depicting him in a performance, Dunk intervened and struck a prince of the blood. The penalty should have been death or mutilation, but Aerion, twisting the incident into treason, demanded a trial of 7, one of the rarest and most dangerous forms of combat in Westerosi law. Dunk, a landless hedge knight with no name, somehow assembled 6 champions: Prince Baelor Breakspear, Lord Lyonel Baratheon, and 4 other knights willing to die for a commoner. The trial ended in Dunk's vindication, but at a terrible cost. Prince Baelor, the heir to the Iron Throne and the realm's finest knight, was accidentally killed by his own brother Maester during the melee. Dunk had won his freedom, but Westeros lost the prince who might have prevented the tragedies to come. The guilt never left him. Number 5. Dunk stood an inch shy of 7 feet tall, making him one of the largest men in Westeros. He had thick, shaggy hair that sun-streaked in the summer, and after his trial by combat at the Chequy Water in 211 AC, a dagger scar marked his cheek, a permanent reminder of Sir Lucas Longinch. Despite his size and strength, Dunk was better with a sword than a lance, and even better with an axe or mace. His fighting style reflected his origins. He learned swordplay from Ser Arlen of Pennytree, but his true edge came from his years in Flea Bottom, where survival meant street brawling and wrestling. During his fight with the Longinch, it was his wrestling ability that saved him, grappling the Castellan underwater until he killed him. Dunk frequently called himself thick as a castle wall and slow as an aurochs, echoing Ser Arlen's words, but his self-deprecation masked the truth. He was a devastating warrior who compensated for his lack of formal training with raw power, practical experience, and the kind of viciousness learned in the gutters of King's Landing. Number 6. In late 233 AC, shortly after Aegon V took the Iron Throne, Dunk escorted the king's brother, Maester Aemon, to Eastwatch by the Sea to join the Night's Watch. Aemon was taking the Black voluntarily to remove himself as a potential threat to his younger brother's kingship. His mere existence as an older Targaryen could become a rallying point for ambitious lords. This wasn't a simple escort mission. The journey from King's Landing to the Wall was long, dangerous, and required absolute discretion. Aegon trusted only Dunk with protecting his brother, and ensuring the realm's most delicate political problem was handled with honor. Number 7. When Dunk joined the Kingsguard sometime before 236 AC, he became one of only a handful of knights in history to wear the white cloak without a drop of noble blood. The Kingsguard was traditionally reserved for second sons of great houses, Lannisters, Baratheons, Danes, Hightowers, men born with castles and names that echoed through history. Dunk had Flea Bottom and a dead Hedge knight's armor, yet King Aegon V appointed him anyway, and eventually made him Lord Commander. The decision sent shockwaves through the nobility. Lords whispered that Aegon was destroying tradition, elevating baseborn upstarts, forgetting the old ways. They were right. Aegon was destroying tradition, intentionally. By putting a man from Flea Bottom in command of the realm's most elite warriors, the king made a statement. Honor mattered more than birth. For the rest of his reign, Aegon V pointed to Dunk whenever lords complained about his reforms. The white cloak on Dunk's shoulders wasn't just armor, it was a political weapon. Number 8.
Dunk served as King Aegon V's champion in trial by combat against Lord Lyonel Baratheon in 239 AC.
The conflict began when Prince Duncan Targaryen, Aegon's eldest son and heir, broke his betrothal to Lyonel's daughter and married Jenny of Oldstones, a common-born woman. The insulted Stormlord renounced his fealty, declared himself Storm King, and prepared for war. Rather than field armies, the matter was settled through single combat. Dunk faced Lyonel Baratheon, the same lord who had fought beside him as a champion during the Trial of Seven at Ashford 30 years earlier, now known as the Laughing Storm, and considered one of the finest fighters of his generation. Despite Lyonel's reputation, Dunk prevailed, ending the short-lived rebellion without further bloodshed. Lyonel was the grandfather of Lord Steffan Baratheon and great-grandfather of Robert Baratheon, making this dual part of the complicated history between House Targaryen and House Baratheon that would culminate in Robert's rebellion a century later. Number 9. Dunk died at Summerhall in 259 AC, attempting to save the people he loved from a catastrophe they had brought upon themselves. The tragedy at Summerhall was no accident. King Aegon V, desperate to restore dragons to House Targaryen, had gathered wildfire, blood magic, and dragon eggs in a ritual meant to fulfill ancient prophecy. Something went catastrophically wrong, and the palace erupted in flames. Dunk, by then Lord Commander of the Kingsguard, died trying to rescue Aegon and others trapped inside. His valor saved some. Survivors later credited him with their lives, but he couldn't save everyone. The king perished. Prince Duncan, Aegon's son and Dunk's namesake, died as well. In the chaos and fire, a child was born, Rhaegar Targaryen, the prince obsessed with prophecy, who would later trigger Robert's rebellion. Dunk spent his final moments trying to protect his oldest friend from the consequences of trying to wake dragons in a world that had moved on from them. He died as he lived, loyal to the end, even when loyalty meant walking into fire. Number 10.
Brienne of Tarth is almost certainly Duncan the Tall's descendant, a truth George R.R. Martin confirmed in 2016 at Balticon, though the exact lineage remains unknown. The evidence had always been there. Brienne stands taller than most men, shares Dunk's obsessive sense of honor, and dreams of becoming a true knight in a realm that mocks her for it, just as Dunk once did. In A Feast for Crows, she recalls seeing a shield in her father's armory at Evenfall Hall, painted with an elm tree and shooting star on sunset, the exact personal arms of Duncan the Tall. She even has that shield repainted for herself when traveling incognito. The parallels run deeper than blood and heraldry. Both are considered ugly by Westerosi standards. Both are mocked for their size and their earnestness. Both defend the innocent when no one else will. The Maid of Tarth carries the blood and spirit of the Hedge Knight who became Lord Commander. Subscribe for more.